With the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU shifting their scope with a radical reversal, we must ask ourselves, has this legal advocacy group come under the control of influential money? You might think so now that the ACLU begins to tip its hand.
Well, the ACLU became famous over almost 100 years by defending due process and free speech, especially for deeply unpopular people. That long and noble tradition is over now in the name of left-wing solidarity.
Growing up in the synagogue in the 50s, we knew that the ACLU had leftist ties, yet still defended civil liberties. An elite group in New York, as Wikipedia puts it, gained control of the ACLU in the 50s. And, as Ted Cruz coins the phrase, with New York values shaping its policies. Is there a common thread here?
The ACLU has been running an ad likening Brett Kavanaugh to Bill Cosby, even though they have literally nothing in common. Of course, Kavanaugh has not even been tried. Here it is.
We've seen this before. Denials from powerful men.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I've never seen anything like this.
I categorically and unequivocally deny the allegation against me by Dr. Ford.
America is watching. And as we choose a lifetime seat on our highest court, integrity matters, and we cannot have any doubt. Senator Gardner opposed the confirmation of Judge Kavanaugh.
Yet Kavanaugh, with a pristine professional record, is correlated with proven sexual predators. How low can the ACLU go?
Fayez Shakir is the ACLU's national political director, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Shakir, thank you for coming on.
Hi, Tucker. Thank you.
This is a disgusting ad, obviously, but what's so distressing is that you ran it, because this is guilt by association, the very thing the ACLU nobly stood against during, for instance, the blacklist period. Bill Cosby and Brett Kavanaugh have nothing in common, and yet you twin them in order to discredit Kavanaugh. How could you do that?
Because a policy shift with a partisan swing arose in 2017 due to a suspected outside influence. That's why.
How could you do that as the ACLU?
So appreciate your comments, Tucker. The common thread here, of course, is powerful men whose careers were on the line issuing denials about sexual wrongdoing.
Just say, I didn't do it, and you're guilty by mere denial. What happened to due process that the ACLU once fought for? It all started with the ACLU's rollout of people power.
We at the ACLU believe that one of the strongest sources of our political power are towns and cities across the United States. Towns and cities have constitutional sovereignty, they have constitutional rights of their own. And we believe cities should be cities of resistance to Donald Trump.
Construing it as a campaign to take the fight against Trump to the streets, complete with resistance training, the ACLU donned the persona of the mob. Fayez Shakir, former editor of Think Progress, a left-wing agitprop funded by George Soros through its parent, Center for American Progress, directs the ACLU's People Powers Action Groups. His kickoff touted that the ACLU was, quote, building a grassroots army to show up in the streets, unquote. You don't build barracks without bucks. For according to the ACLU itself, George Soros's boots are all over the garrison, with at least $50 million awarded to the ACLU over the past 4 years through his Open Society foundations. Sounds like a hijack.
His reaction to the ongoing Kavanaugh confirmation saga. President of the New York Civil Rights Coalition, former vice president of the ACLU, Michael Myers. You saw the ad we played last night, Michael. For what, since 1981 to 2005? You were a member, high-ranking member of the ACLU?
I was on the national board of the American Civil Liberties Union. I was also a voting member most of those years on the ACLU National Executive Committee.
What happened to your organization?
The ACLU now is hijacked by the lunatic left.
But hasn't the ACLU always been left? At least in attitude? Aren't its officers like Susan Herman? Arthur Eisenberg and Donna Lieberman left? Well, they've always been left, but not this left.
They don't believe in process. They don't believe in due process. They don't believe in free speech anymore. They don't believe in anything other than the resistance. Or as opposed to resisting fashion, they have become part of the resistance movement.
More like a transmutation movement funded by Georgi Schwartz, who changed his name to George Soros. He's not Greek. He's Hungarian.
Trying to improve the world is more difficult than making money. You can only measure it if you have a strategy.
He's very suspicious of conventional wisdom.
I set up a foundation to promote this idea of an open society. Opening up closed societies.
That intellectual power that he brings, he sees things from a very broad, systemic perspective.
I know that I don't know all the answers. Whatever frame I create is bound to be biased.
He actually thinks for himself.
And puts his posters where his money is. For in the article, George Soros's March on Washington, it was a closed society cut loose with paid-for posters with the marks of George Soros's money all over them. Something criminal here?
All right, last question for you. When you have a situation where the whole structure has been attacked, all right, the whole nomination process of Brett Kavanaugh was attacked, all right, by Christine Ford's allegations and her attorneys who drove those investigations into the press, and the press blew it up. Now there is evidence, if you read the Wall Street Journal article today, that George Soros funded groups, all right, went into Washington with one intent: disrupt and intimidate the entire process by confronting senators and other people. Is there any criminality in Soros funding groups that are in for disruption of our system? Can you see any way that Soros himself might be investigated?
There really is, and this is what federal conspiracy laws were targeting, was supposed to be targeting, and that is a conspiracy to harm the United States. If you have an individual through a systematic and paid-for scheme or strategy to do damage to our government and constitutional protections, I'd like to have that exposed.
Listen, I'd love for that to happen. But the press is never going to go after Soros. Now, as you heard, if you criticize Soros, you're an anti-Semite. That's the latest from the New York Times guy.
It's not anti-Semitic, it's anti-Hungarian. Just ask Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban.
You're probably aware that there are large-bodied predators who are swimming here in our waters. This is the transborder empire of George Soros, with tons of money and international heavy artillery.
Look, if democracy is awarded to the highest bidder, then George Soros buys in and sells out America. And whether it's left-wing, right-wing, this thing goes way beyond an auction gone awry.
I'm asking you why you put him next to a man who was tried in court and convicted of felonies and sentenced to prison.
Because that
when
individual,
he, as you just noted, hasn't done any of those things.
That individual also denied the accusations. I think you would appreciate, Tucker, that we're criticizing people on the left and the right.
I don't care about the left and the right. I care about the principles that make the country worth living in, which you once defended and now you urinate on. Why not put him next to Charles Manson?
Because Manson didn't pose a threat to the ACLU or George Soros. But those opposing New York values do.